I never understand why you fade before I start speaking. Welcome to the Oil Stream. I don't want to Tom Gazzola with you here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio as well as those watching YouTube. Well, no, the music for the Oil Stream goes playing, and it's happened. I meant to mention it on Friday or whatever, but before I start speaking, Zach starts fading it down.
You always cut in super soon.
Yeah, you always wait till somebody talks until you fade down.
I don't want to.
I haven't taught you that. That was my bad. That's on me. But I'm just very intrigued by that.
Happy Monday. What's up, boys?
Well,
it's deep off season.
Yeah, that's where I have to fine tune the little things around ESD because I have the time now to go around and be like, hey, why are we doing it this way, or let's do it this way, and that'll be the next thing. So there's the lesson, Zach. Fade as I start talking, or Dusty starts talking. Shows how much I listen also to Dusty doing it, because I don't know if it happens with Dusty or not.
I can't remember.
You don't fade it down for Dusty, you just fade it down for me?
Well, because I thought you were going to start talking there, so I tried to time it instead of actually waiting until you spoke, because usually you cut in a lot sooner than he does. And I know when he usually cuts in, he lets the music play a little bit longer.
Yeah, that
it just,
does sound
I'm fine-tuning it myself, you know? I'm trying to find the sweet spot, but
we'll get there.
I didn't get it.
We'll get there as a group.
We got
ESD.
practice.
And I'm also just one of those that just throws everyone under the bus at ESD. Because that's how you make sure people get better. You just throw them under the bus.
Nice.
I'm the great boss, aren't I?
Yeah, throw them under the bus and see if they sink or swim. I think those are the two terms that go together there.
I once said
to
1260. I kept telling somebody something over and over, like all week.
Yeah.
And they weren't listening to me.
Yeah.
So finally I stopped telling them and they messed up. And I knew it was happening. And then they got mad at me because I let them mess up.
Who was that?
Oh, I'm not going to say
Can I guess?
Feel free. I'm not going to answer yes or no.
Post-game Ranger.
No, well before that. But they did say it to me after that. While they were mad in the moment, later on they realized that they never made that mistake again because I finally let them sink or swim, and they sunk. But it was just like all week I kept like, dude, remember this, remember this. And finally it's like, okay, I saw it happening, and I just left the room.
Way to go, Hernan.
Then they came up to me and like, why did it happen? I was like, well, I've told you all week about this. And then they got mad at me. So I haven't told Zach about that at all yet, so that was just me being an ass, I guess.
That's okay. 780-218-9999. Text us or get into the nasty chat if you have any questions or anything like that. We'll talk about a bunch of stuff. I want to just touch on this really quickly. Okay. We didn't get to it. It was in the inbox from after the hangout. Great hangout today with Crusher and Will Fraser.
You can never go wrong with either of those two gentlemen.
They were excellent. Good way to start the week for sure in deep summer. Bonnie Dune Ron texted in and said, great hangout today. It really hit home. My son decided not to play soccer this summer, which hurt a lot. He'd played for 8 years and wanted to try something else. My wife said, let him decide on something else. Give him a break. He's enjoying baseball and going to the Riverhawks camp this week. Thanks, guys. And this stems from, we're talking about kids being burnt out. It's hockey. Hockey camps are happening. I'm about to go help out at one for the next 2 weeks, starting next week. And I pointed out, like, there's some kids there that all they do, and this happened in Arizona. It happens in Coeur d'Alene, and then there's going to be another one in Calgary too. But I specifically remember it in Arizona, saying like good morning to the kids, and you know it's like 8:15 at the rink, and they're about to go on the ice, and one kid's coming in his shorts and t-shirt, and he's huffing and puffing, rolling his wheelie bag, and I'm like, "What's up, buddy? You ready to go?" No, I'm like, well, what's wrong? I'm tired. Oh, did you stay up late? What? He goes, no, I went to practice after hockey camp yesterday. I have to go to practice after hockey camp today. And I'm like, dude, it's only Tuesday. He goes, I know, but my parents make me go. And so Crusher and Phrase were talking about, like, letting the kids decide on other sports, like Bonnie Dune Ron's boy who changed from soccer to baseball. And I don't know, there's like a mental ease there. So not forcing them into just hockey, or soccer, baseball, but allowing them time to get away from that sport. And so it's interesting. But, yeah, Phrase was pretty upfront about it. He said it, what did he say? The parents are soft.
He's calling parents soft now.
But he is a parent, obviously.
Yeah, he said we. As well, like he put it on him.
He included himself in that.
Well, because that came. He built that off the text where the one person said the coach said the kids are soft
Yes.
these days because of pitch counts.
Yeah.
And he went, no, it's parents that are soft these days.
Yes, that's right. I want to.
Although
put
it's,
it
like
into
part of all
proper-
this goes to just development. Like Wayne Gretzky talked about it, Bobby Orr's talked about it. A lot of former players from other sports have talked about it, but being a well-versed athlete.
Yeah.
And that's what helped them become a great player in what they are, is that they're a well-versed athlete. And
Yeah.
I think Crush has brought it up before, too, is that you just also develop different parts of your bodies when you play different sports.
Yep.
If you just go and be a pitcher and you focus on being a pitcher day in and day out, 365, you're not actually developing the rest of your body.
You're just
Whereas you're just developing
back
that one
in your
motion,
arm.
whereas you develop, it just makes you, and then that leads to the injuries and stuff.
Right.
Helps lead to injuries and all that. And that's what we're seeing. It's just more and more. You're going to just keep seeing more and more major injuries.
Yeah.
Because kids are overworked, overplayed, and also limited to just their specialty, as opposed to, you go play hockey in the winter. And in the summer, you play a different sport, and maybe you could add a third sport in the year if you have the ability. But usually, like a lot of two-sport athletes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we're getting away from that.
Well, yeah, exactly. And Crusher made an interesting point because I said to him, we're seeing a lot more younger hockey players dealing with like hip surgeries at a younger age. Like you're hearing them get the hips shaved. Like Jesse Puljujarvi, to use the Oilers as an example, had those hip issues, had to get the hip shaved. Sam Gagner needed the same thing. But Sam Gagner is 12 years older than Jesse Puljujarvi, or 10 years older than him, and that's a little bit different. And Crush said, hockey players with the hips, more and more of the youngsters are getting the hip surgery. And then with baseball, he said that the leading surgery that kids are getting under the age of 15 for baseball players is Tommy John. That is a major surgery.
Get it done early so you don't have to do it later.
That's insane.
It's like almost like sometimes a preemptive strike.
Right, but
But
he said, why not
not-
let their bodies develop and grow properly so you're not doing that, and it doesn't require surgery, and you're not putting a cadaver ligament in your kid's elbow so he can...
Because my kid is going to be a pro, and this is his path to being a pro.
Yeah, well, Tom Cochran wrote a song about that, I think.
No, it'd be like all this extra sport that we play. It's too much. And I understand hockey. Everyone loves hockey.
Yeah,
Everyone wants
same.
to play hockey, but there's also a limit. You talked about it for you. It was just the one summer camp. That was
Yep.
it throughout that. My brother used to always take part in the Golden Bears camp. in
That
the
was a
summer,
good
but
one.
that was kind of like the thing that he did. But he did other things.
Right.
You just also enjoyed the summer.
Go
Being a
ride
kid,
bikes.
right? Go and play street hockey.
Street hockey
or
is fun. Baseball, soccer,
whatever it was.
football.
Just go and play with the kids in the neighborhood or whatever that
Yeah.
is. You didn't have to play fully even organized sport.
Right.
And it helps. So it's a weird time where we are with sports and where it's going. And when you're hearing that hip issues for kids, like
In hockey.
That's-
They're kids.
you don't want to hear that.
Uh,
You want to be tight. You hear hip issues about when you're in like the 50s, 60s,
Yes.
70s. And you're going, oh, well, let's get those hips figured out. Not a
Right.
13, 14-year-old. Oh, this kid's got hip issues.
Chris makes a good point via the Nasty Chat. Says, most people that play sports are going to end up in the same league. Beer league.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Was this 4-0 Yankees from Joel? The Yankees playing right now? Yankees are up over the Rays. 4-0.
Wow.
Bottom of the fourth. Good job, Yankees. I didn't even know they're playing right now.
Rob C says, I was lucky playing sports when I was younger. Only major injury I had was an ankle issue. Took years to fix, but that's all. Knock on wood. We had a text that came in on the Hangout from Mark, who was a pitcher, and he said he wished he had a pitch count, and now he said his arm would be sore for a week when he was 14, and now, even as an adult, his arm...
No, he says now it finally
Now
feels
it's
right.
finally okay.
Now, as an adult, his arm feels
Right.
normal. It's taken all that time to finally feel normal because he pitched so much and the arm was such a mess. So,
Yeah, man. That's tough. It's tough. Anyway, a couple of things. I mean, obviously we'll talk Oilers. It's the Oil Stream. But we didn't have a chance to talk about football really quickly.
yeah, well, before this is the Oil Stream presented by Boston Pizzas. Hello, summer, as they say. Summer short, make any occasion a BP patio occasion. They got their summer menu out right now, which includes the summer pesto chicken pizza, fish tacos, the truffle mushroom burger, and they also have some returning BP favorites like the pizza flights, where you just get 3 6-inch pizzas, and you get to pick any of the pizzas that they have at Boston Pizza. You get 3 of them, 6 inches. Head to Boston Pizza, and it's a couple more days of that patio weather, at least for me, on a BP.
It'll come back. We're
It
not even
sure is.
into August yet.
Yeah, but
We'll get a
I always,
reprieve here.
but I know the 30s is rare. Like, that could be
Yeah.
rare. So, like, we
Yeah.
might be done with 30s, which for me is very sad. I like my 30s.
Me too.
But I understand most people in Edmonton don't want the 30s and they want the 20s. And I could live with that. Just give me the 20s and sunny. Although a little bit of rain wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Yeah, the Elks, they lose. Ottawa. Kicking's been fantastic. Been the best. I haven't seen better kicking.
My goodness, man.
I'm surprised he hasn't been cut, Boris Beatty.
I know.
Legitimately, because they have Dean Faithful on the roster. Like, and it can't be worse.
No.
Right? And that's the part I'm a little surprised Dean Faithful's not getting elevated, Boris Beatty, but I would imagine he can't afford another miss like the next month.
What do you go? 4 of 7 in Ottawa. They lose by 6.
Where did he miss to? Because they weren't like.
There was that one end zone.
I think they were in the 40-yard, like
They were in the
between
40
and
range.
50. Which
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you have to make those in the Canadian Football League.
Yes.
Still. If they were over 50, I could sit there and be like, wow, those are tough kicks. But what did he had for misses in this game? No good.
He's at 64%.
He missed the 45-yarder. He missed the 42-yarder. He missed the 43-yarder. Sorry, you have to make those. At least you have to make 2 of those 3. If you go 6 of 7, I could live with that. I could live with that percentage for a game if you kick 7 times and you make 6 of them. You can't go 4 of 7 missing 3 of those.
He's 9 for 14 this year. 9 for 14.
Yeah.
64%, by far the worst percentage in the league. Sean White hasn't missed. Rene Paredes hasn't missed. Those 2 are great. Mark Leggio, 92.9%. Lewis Ward, who set the record all time, 91%. David Cote in Montreal, 90%. Liram Hiralahu, who's been around the league and I think even spent some time in the NFL, 88.2%. And then Castillo at 83.3%, who the Elks cut a couple of years ago because of they didn't want to pay him as much. Brett Lothar, 83.3%. Jose Maltos, backup in Montreal, 80%, and then Boris Beatty at 64%.
Boris Beatty's the 10th best kicker in
On
a
a
19 league.
Yeah.
Because Montreal's had a little bit of injury. They've had 2 kickers go in there. But he's the 10th best kicker in a 9-team league right now.
Yeah.
And it's by a good margin for 9th place. He is a good 15 points back. 15 percentage points
4
back.
for 7 in a game that they lost by 2 field goals. Because the offenses couldn't convert outside of Ottawa on the first drive of the game.
He hasn't missed an extra point this year, though.
Oh, that's good.
Because career, he's struggled with that a little bit in his career. I will say that. How has he done with that kicking over the years? Last year he missed 4 extra points. The year before 3. The year before he was perfect in the extra points. The year before 2. The year before 2. So he's used to missing the extra points. But this is his career worst. That's the one positive I will point to. His career worst is 52.4% in 10 games in 2016. He was 11 of 21. But since then, so since 2017, 2018, 2019, 21, 22, 23, and now this year, he's always been an above 82%, except for 1 year in Toronto, he's 70. Actually, this is not a good sign. 2022 in Toronto was 78.2%. Last year's 49.9%. And then 64%.
Listen, Dean Faithful last year was somewhere in the 70s. I'm double checking here.
He made a couple really big kicks too.
Yes, he was 78.6%.
To me, it needed to be improved.
Yeah.
They needed to improve on kicking from him this year. Partly because, you couldn't trust him at points last year to kick beyond 40. That was the issue with him. That, he better have a high. Actually, that's kind of a low percentage for a guy that's only basically kicking within 40 for a large part of it.
Yes.
But he's at least made kicks. And
Sergio Castillo's at 64%. Or pardon me,
Boris Beatty.
Boris Beatty. Anyway,
yeah,
I watched that game.
6 kicks last year. Yeah. And what was his long? His long was 46. But he was making those.
I watched that game back. The offense sputtered, but they got into field goal range, and you missed 3. And not only that, they don't go through the end zone for a single.
No.
They get brought out.
Not a single one of them was a point. No, one time they got.
I think they
one
got
time.
one.
They got 1 single. So he cost them 8 points in that game.
Yeah, that's the difference.
8 points.
That's 2 weeks in a row against an Ottawa team that was beatable, is beatable, your kicker screwed you over.
Well, and flip side too, though, in this one, the offense was not good. Like the defense,
No, it sputtered.
Defense stepped up. The secondary still got beat a little bit.
Yeah.
Defensive line was fantastic, I felt like, in that game. But there was no rhythm. There was no chemistry on that offense.
Did you like that they got Trey Ford in there for a series?
2 series.
2 series, pardon me?
It was one where I was said in the pregame show that I could understand why they might not get him out there.
Right.
Because short week, maybe we won't see it till Hamilton.
Right.
So they got the 2 series in, so I'll live with that. But the weird part to me was that they did that, but then in the third quarter, early fourth, we were like, this isn't working.
No.
You know, when MBT throws his interception, you kind of sit there like, maybe try Trey here now. You've already done it in the game.
Yeah.
Maybe try bringing Trey out to see what he can get going. And then sticking with MBT till the end, I didn't get that. Yeah. That's the part where just because they already had gone to Trey Ford, but I don't want to rip Jarius Jackson too much because in the kickoff show I said, well, I could see that him not playing and I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But like the offense just couldn't get things done. They couldn't score a touchdown. Like that's the other part of this. Boris Beatty attempted 7 field goals.
Yeah.
Why isn't he attempting 5? Because you put 2 in the end zone.
It's the fair point. They sputtered offensively. V Power says, is this the oil stream or is it Elks droppings?
I like that naming of it.
That's a good name.
Right,
I
the
was
Elks
laughing at
droppings.
that. Yes.
It's very, very
apropos
for this season
Yes.
or last few seasons for this team. Yes. The one thing I was trying to figure out with Jay too, though, is I don't know where the Elks go from here for the rest of this season. What do we want from this season from this team?
A win.
A
win.
But is playoffs still something to look at? Because it's what do we look? Calgary. There's 6 points back of 3 games back of Calgary for that playoff spot in the West. I think crossover's now done because they're 3 points back of Toronto. Mm-hmm. But Toronto has the season series. Plus, it doesn't actually even matter about season series. You have to be ahead of them. So you're 3.5 games behind Toronto. I don't see how you're 4.5 games behind Ottawa. I don't see how you're getting crossover.
No.
So you're looking at Calgary and Winnipeg. Winnipeg's not anything to be excited about. Like that, maybe they could beat Winnipeg still.
Sure.
Can they catch Calgary? The Labor Day series will be like if they go sweep Labor Day, they're in the playoff hunt to a degree.
Calgary looked good yesterday. That's a big win.
I know 3-0 at home, 0-3 on the road this year for Calgary.
Well,
that's where it's. But and if you start looking toward 2025, what moves can you make? Because your GM isn't here. We don't know who the GM of this team is next year. Right. And quite frankly, I don't want G. Roy Simon making big moves to this team because he might not be the GM for this team next year. So I don't want him doing something where whenever the ownership comes in, the president comes in, and they hire the GM eventually, they sit there and go, well, I would have liked that guy still. Like, don't make it a bigger mess for the next general manager of this team. Right. I don't know where it goes from here. But they got Hamilton on Sunday.
Yeah, I know. It's a mess.
The only team that's not now won in the Canadian Football League this season, it is your Edmonton Elks.
Really quickly, you had an update on the Dunia you wanted to talk about?
I won the Dunia this week against Lieutenant Eric by 0.15 points.
How'd you pull that
And the only reason I got that is because the BC Lions special teams got a rouge in the fourth quarter. That Calgary chose to give up the rouge. And my league added a rouge this year, which I was against for the most. I have fought this for years. And Lucas and Eric and McCord finally got it through, and they got the rouge in, or Lucas convinced the other two to get the rouge through, and it benefited me. We had the closest game in the history of the league, and I won because of a stinking rouge.
That's gross.
It was amazing and gross at the exact same time. 0.15 points, and I do all the stats manually. So I double-checked everything because I'm like, I could have easily screwed something up here.
Right.
And I didn't, but I won by 0.1. Eric's winless. Because Eric lost because of a rouge.
Oh, that's awful. Like I said, Belzy and we stick to our guns. Get rid of the rouge in the CFL.
No, I'm now even a bigger proponent of the rouge. You never know what's going to matter.
Awful.
It gave the Sacramento Gold Miners their 3rd win of the season. So
here.
I'm very proud of the Gold Miners.
Round of clicks.
Thank you. The San Antonio Texans undefeated, 7-0.
They are formidable, evidently.
I don't know when Lucas is going to draw. I don't know if Lucas can lose first play. He'd have to go on a serious losing streak to blow it. So.
Attaboy, Lucas.
No. Screw Lucas.
Okay.
No.
All right.
No.
All right.
Absolutely not. But yeah, 0.15. I don't know if Eric talked about it on the morning show today. I'm assuming he didn't. Unless maybe, he did it for that hurts.
Right.
Because that would have hurt for him. I would have been. Yeah. If it wasn't for that, I would have lost by whatever worked out for me. I would have lost by 0.1 point if there wasn't a rouge in our league.
Wow.
It was that tight. This is the Oil Stream live on EdmontonSportsTalk.com. Tune in iHeartRadio as well as those watching on YouTube. The number one Edmonton's all sports radio station in the city of Edmonton. I guess I don't have to say Save Edmonton when I say Edmonton first, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Mentioned GM of the Edmonton Elks. There's some rumblings. I don't know how legit the rumblings are of maybe could Mark Hunter be that. Now we've heard Mark Hunter's name over many years with this team. Does Mark Hunter make sense to you, Tommy, in coming into the Edmonton Oilers as a GM?
Maybe. I mean, it depends on what Mark Hunter wants to do because he's got a good thing going with the London Knights, obviously. VP of Hockey Ops, GM, owner. And the Golden Knights were able to get Kelly McCrimmon when they got going as a franchise. I guess if Mark Hunter wanted to rejoin an NHL team because he was an assistant GM for a couple of years with the Toronto Maple Leafs. If he and Jeff Jackson have a good rapport with one another, I had to double check to see if they were in the Maple Leafs organization at the same time. They were not when it comes to the hockey executive side of things. I guess so. I mean, and we had Dave Pagnotta on the season finale of Hello Hockey over the weekend, and he outlined, he's like, whoever comes in is dealing with the day-to-day. The big stuff will land on Jeff Jackson's desk. So if people are going, well, big ask for the next guy because he's going to be handling the extension and the negotiations for Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, and Evan Bouchard. Well, yeah, but the main player from an Oilers standpoint will be Jeff Jackson in those negotiations. And then the GM will provide assistance, if you will. Jeff Jackson he's the CEO. He oversees the big stuff. This guy who's going to take over as the next GM gets the day-to-day nitty-gritty stuff. And if that's something Mark Hunter wants to do, he just wants to be back in the NHL, sure, okay. I don't know much about Mark Hunter outside of the fact that he used to play in the NHL. Hunter family.
Mm-hmm. Spent some time with the Leafs as a executive, and then they went the Dubas route instead of him.
Yeah, exactly. And there was rumblings about him coming in when the Oilers were thinking about Keith Gretzky at the time, who had to mop up the year for Peter Chiarelli, and then they ultimately went with Kenny Holland. So great if he wants it. And then the other thing is, you said that people are still talking about Stan Bowman.
Well, the one report that was out there was that Stan Bowman would be an advisor.
Okay. Again, I don't think the optics of that, regardless of, Sheldon Kennedy passing along his blessing, saying Stan Bowman has done everything that he believes he needed to do to understand where he went wrong with Chicago in the sexual assault situation. I still think the optics of it isn't particularly great. I don't think it's necessary. You could probably find somebody to fulfill that role adequately to the same level Stan Bowman can do it without the unwanted attention and headache of having Stan Bowman on your staff.
I think an advisor is a way you can almost get around it a little bit where there's not as much attention.
He's not around as much.
It's not the main job.
Yeah.
It's not the big job. It's not even a role hire. You're just an advisor.
Yeah.
Executive to the regional manager, assistant to the regional manager type. Is that their Oilers' way of they're hoping that people would maybe not be as upset about the bringing in Stan Bowman in the fold because he's not getting the big job. He's not getting the title.
If they're really adamant on him, then that's a sly way to sneak him in.
But also, why do you need him?
That's what I'm saying. Is
what is his like? And I don't know if you would know this off the top of your head, but tell anyone else out there, and maybe this is just an answer not for today. But what is his biggest accomplishment as a general manager in this league that he did? Look, the Cups. He was the GM while they won the Cups. But a lot of what was built there came from Dale Talon.
Correct.
So what's his what's his point he could go to? I did this and this. Those would be the things I'd wonder. So is it that high up there?
Now, he was director of hockey ops for years while Talon was the main guy. He was also assistant GM. kept that group together, brought in some good pieces.
Like, I wouldn't do it. I would not want Stan Bowman around my organization if I was the Edmonton Oilers. If I was Daryl Katz, I'd be like, no, don't need this PR. Don't need this at all.
Right.
We could go somewhere else. We could find something else. Jeff Jackson, you've still been doing a great job. Whoever's doing this is a caretaker anyways, as you said, handling day to day, so they're not even the big decision maker. I don't want this headache around my organization for that. But this text comes in from Eden, 780-218-9999. Hey, boys, there seems to be a full court press to hire Bowman from different media personalities. Even if it's possible to leave aside the moral bankruptcy of writing a letter of recommendation for a known predator, he signed Seth Jones to that awful contract when it helped turn Nurse's price that offseason. He also traded Panarin for peanuts. Hard pass. Did he sign the Seth Jones?
Yeah.
Was it him?
Yeah, that was him. It was Seth Jones, Zach Werenski, and I think Dumba even got a big contract that offseason too. There was a few D-men that it reset the bar for the price point, and Darnell Nurse was coming off a very good season, that 56-game season where he did play very well, and it got him that big contract that people
reset the market
quite a bit loathe.
Yeah,
that's an understatement.
It messed with things.
Part of me wonders too, is this the name that we're talking about because it is deep off season? Why are we chewing on the same names? Maybe there's someone out there that we haven't talked about, but I don't know.
Which I really hope you're right, because that would be if that happens, Jeff Jackson is even more brilliant than I'm giving him credit for, because I already think he's brilliant. But there's the one thing where you do, hey, look what's going on over here, and then all of a sudden you announce.
Yeah.
Some person we weren't even thinking,
and
we're going, my God, where did this come from?
Right.
No one saw, I think, fully what happened on Canada Day happening. Jeff Jackson was able to get it done. So maybe there's something else, and this is just a little bit of that smoke screen.
Maybe.
But I always go, there's a reason all this media are out there starting to defend Stan Bowman's return to the National Hockey League. There's a reason we get the...
is it the full court press we call it?
The full court press. There's I'm the Sheldon Kennedy's group. It's Respect. Is it Respect Group?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's just called? The Respect Group. Like, there's a part of the reason that that gets posted now out there. Like, why wasn't that out there the day of the reinstatement?
Good point.
We want to know that they did things. It came out. Like, why wasn't that in connection? It's because there's at least someone trying to get Stan Bowman right. We're not hearing it for Joel Quenneville.
No.
We're not hearing it for, I forgot who the other person was, but like, we're hearing it for Stan Bowman. So then you got to look at who's in the market right now for a GM or of that position. Really, it's only the Edmonton Oilers, I would think. Am I missing anyone?
Columbus got theirs.
Well, then they're looking for a coach right now.
Yeah.
So that's why it seems like it's connected to Edmonton with Stan Bowman, and that's why it's out there.
And anytime you talk about Edmonton, you get clicks. That's the other thing too.
People love to talk about the Oilers.
Out of market as well.
People love to talk to us. Our nasty chat just getting inundated by a couple of trolls.
Oh, really?
Hey,
are they from Vancouver?
Good work, Zach, for doing some work. Calls them clowns. Good job. No, I don't know. They're talking about, Alex Semin will say.
Oh, gotcha.
They have some interesting names for them, but
nice.
Like, you have to create multiple different accounts and things like that. So, as Brett B just says, not even trolling. He's just being a weirdo at this point.
That is weird.
And I think he might be in again right away here. We're going to have to wait and see. Yeah, there it is. I've got this one, guys. Don't worry. Oh, no. Somebody got there first. Zach got there first.
Oh.
So, you have to create all those accounts. It's that summertime. It's July 22nd.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the heat. Maybe the heat's getting to this person.
Going cuckoo.
And they have nothing else to do. But the Mark Hunter name, we've heard it around this team in advance of the Ken Holland hire.
Yeah.
His name was floated out there. So it's not, to me, a full surprise that he's coming in. Taking away everything with Stan Bowman, like putting that part aside of this. I also really, to a degree, don't care who the general manager is.
I think it's pretty clear.
Well, it's Jeff Jackson's, like, it's his team that he's running it. And I don't think anyone's going to come in and be able to do anything that is going to mess with this team that takes away from the vision of Jeff Jackson.
Right.
If they try to do something that's against the vision of Jeff Jackson, like, he's going to final approve, I think, everything.
I think so. I think that's pretty evident. We've come to realize this with the short work he made of...
And everyone loved what he did.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and everyone wants him to just be the GM. But if he doesn't want to be the GM, Just let him hire whatever caretakers. I don't care what their name is. It could be Keith Gretzky. It could be It could be Bob Stauffer to a degree.
Stop that.
But I don't, because it's, to me, this is the Toronto Raptors situation. Whenever we talk about the Raptors, we're going to talk about what Masai Ujiri thinks. What's Masai Ujiri going to do with this team? But Bobby Webster's the GM. We're not going to talk about GM X as much as we will. We're going to talk about Jeff Jackson.
Yes.
That, to me, is what I think has become clear. So I to a degree, don't care because it's still Jeff Jackson's vision for this team moving forward.
Yeah. And the only other thing, again, I'll reference Hello Hockey because it's a phenomenal program on Saturdays from 10 to noon here.
You can only go back and listen to season 1. It's over for the season. He'll be back in September.
That's right. He said a week to 10 days we should hear an announcement on the GM.
Give us some news. I'll take it.
Yeah, sure.
Get us in that heart of summer when we need a little extra things to talk about on the Oil Streamer, 2 guys and a goalie. Give it to us. Between them and the Oilers and the Elks, we're getting a lot of nice summer news right now.
I'm enjoying
Elks firing Chris Jones. Canada Day. We're going to get a GM hire. Eventually, we'll get an ownership hire for the Elks or ownership announcement for the Elks.
Yes.
It's going to be a busy summer here in Edmonton with our sports teams.
This is the quiet part, which it's still kind of busy. But, I like calling it. It's deep off season, man. Like, it was funny, too, because, we kind of did a not really a year in review, but, like, we reflected a little bit. We had some great guests on Hello Hockey, and I think I said to Dave, I'm like, is it at the point now where, like, even the hockey people don't even care? They're all out of sight, out of mind. It's the couple weeks of the summer where they basically clean their hands and say, "Oh, we'll get to it in August." Like, that's where we're at. And so
they want to go enjoy a little summer. They want to go golf. They want to go to the lake.
Exactly.
Sit outside, grab a glass of red, enjoy the sunset, smoking a stogie. That's what they want to go do.
Yes, they do. And a lot of them are doing that. That's why it's like this.
This is the Oil Stream live from the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen studio here on the West End. Portions of this hour brought to you by Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen. More reasons to love boneless wings. For a limited time, get 200 bonus points with the purchase of boneless wings at participating Canadian Popeyes restaurants. They also do still have those strawberry biscuits. A perfect blend of sweet and savory, available for a limited time. Order now your strawberry biscuits. They look good, too. They look amazing.
Oh, my God.
What?
Strawberry what?
Biscuits.
There you go. We do have, is that Matvey Petrov on the sidebar? If you're watching on YouTube.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And why is that, Zach, to come? And
I'm just filtering through players. I thought of Matvey Petrov today.
People are trying to, like, understand the meaning.
No, there's
Like
no
what we're
hidden
gonna
meaning.
discuss about
No,
He's just a player.
Yeah.
I don't know. Better than always putting McDavid up there every time.
Yeah, like at some point this summer, I hope you put a Roman Oxuda picture up there of his time in Edmonton.
Oh, you should just grab like great Oilers of the past, like, but not like great in terms of
the
like
forgotten guys.
the Igor Ulanovs of the world, and just randomly put their pictures up.
Igor Kravchuk. Speaking
Boris
of Igors.
Smirnov.
Yeah.
Those type of players. We should just get a list of those. Yeah,
Dan
just throw
McGillis.
those up throughout the
Ty
summer.
Ratty.
The off-season assassin. Or,
We said
preseason
underrated
assassin.
greatness.
Yeah.
Underrated.
Zdeno Seagar.
Those, yes. Like, go put those guys,
Kent
maybe.
Manderville.
Bob
Sean
Beard.
Bodine, Bob Beard.
Or you go find first-round picks that didn't pan out.
Len Esau. Selmer Odeline. Steve Kelly. Ralph Intranuvo. Nick Stadjahar.
These are new names to me.
Jason Bonsignor. Do you know the story of Jason Bonsignor?
No, I do not.
He went 6th overall. Oh, no, it was 4th overall to the Oilers. And then Ryan Smith, I think, went 6th overall. Bonsignor was supposed to be like the next big thing. I think at the time that was the highest the Oilers had ever picked, 1994. And total bust. Total bust.
He went 5. Oh, no, he went 4. Jeff O'Neill went 5. Ryan Smith went
That's
6. He played 79 NHL games, 3 goals, 13 assists for 16 points.
And he scored those with Tampa?
2 goals with Tampa for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, 1 with the Oilers.
He did get one with the Oilers.
In one game. In 94-95. He had 1 game played, 1 goal, 1 point overall.
Nice.
Then then he played 20 games the year after, 0 goals, 2 assists.
Yeah.
His Wikipedia says is American former professional ice hockey forward and speedway promoter and racer.
Yeah.
And when you actually search up Jason Bond Sr. on Wikipedia, like they usually would say like ice hockey player or something, it says American promoter as his main thing.
Apparently he owned like a amusement park or something.
I want to know more about this, but why isn't it like popping up? It's not even on his Wikipedia page. I just want to know more about that part of his life. Jason Bond Sr. Speedway. East Coast Speedway promoter. I don't know if there's a website in this.
Raider Jesse says David Oliver. I really like David Oliver when he was in Oiler. I think he was a 20-goal scorer.
I found his LinkedIn.
Belsey knows David Oliver really well.
I found his LinkedIn page.
Jason Bond Sr.?
Yeah, he uses a lightning photo.
Okay.
It says professional hockey player, coach, racetrack promoter, real estate. And he's a professional athlete and in real estate. Champion Speedway, May 1997 to present.
Zach DeCombe, did you know the story of Steve Kelly and Shane Doan at the 1995 NHL entry draft hosted here in Edmonton at Edmonton Coliseum?
No, I don't.
May I?
Yes, please.
So I was at this draft. It was really cool. It was super neat. It was when the Colorado Avalanche were becoming a thing. The Quebec Nordiques had moved. There was a huge Alexander Mogilny trade from Buffalo to Vancouver. And I think Wendell Clark got traded at that draft too. Anyway, the Oilers are up. I think they're picking, was it 10th? Can you look this up, Maddie?
Which year? I'm looking up East
1995.
Coast. East Coast Speedway, sorry.
All right. So anyway, the Oilers were up, and the entire crowd was chanting Doan, Doan.
So that was sixth.
That was sixth overall.
It was sixth overall.
Thank you. They're chanting Shane because he's from Selkirk, Alberta, right?
Shane Doan's from Halkirk, Alberta.
Halkirk, pardon me. Selkirk is Manitoba, I think. Anyway, good Alberta boy, great player, good junior, and the crowd was chanting Doan, Doan, Doan. So Glenn Sather goes to the scouts and says, I have to draft this Doan guy. We're hosting the draft. The crowd's literally chanting for him. The scouts apparently turned around and looked at Slats and said, if you draft Doan and not Steve Kelly, we're all quitting on the spot. And so he went up there, took Steve Kelly. I don't remember if everybody booed or not, but that's how it went down apparently.
And Jerome McGinley went 11th overall.
To Dallas.
Yep. Jean-Sebastian Giguère went 13.
Yep.
Radek Tavares went 10th overall. Peter Sikora was drafted that year.
Yep.
Martin Biron was drafted that year. Sean Brown.
Yeah.
Who else got drafted? Oh, Jochen Hesch was drafted that year.
Jochen Hesch.
Sammy Kapanen, Mark Savard.
That was a good draft.
Vesa Toskala.
Wow.
He was drafted that. Wow, okay. I didn't realize he was that old.
Raider
Pete Kiprusoff was drafted that year.
Wow. Raider Jesse said they did boo. Smitty the Welder says, what a terrible miss that was. Yeah.
Brent Sopel.
Brent Sopel was a good player for a long
Stefan
time.
Robida was drafted that year. He was in the 7th round.
Calvin C. said, did the Oilers draft team get fired after that? No, a lot of them stayed on for quite a while. So anyway.
Should have had them quit.
I just remember, Doan. And then they took Steve Kelly, and I looked at him. I'm like, who's Steve Kelly, Dad? And I was like, I don't know.
Oh, I like this from Todd in YYC. New summer segment. Zacticum learns about obscure Oilers players.
Oh, I've got plenty
of
that. Useless crap I know about the team and organization that I could impart on you.
East Coast Speedway is the biggest party in the Southern Tier since 1975.
Damn.
Celebrating 50 years of racing in 2024. That's what their website says. It is such a racing website. Like, what you would imagine a racing website to be,
Yep.
that is this. Like,
nighttime racing, I see bikes.
It's just not the best. From, like, probably 2004.
Yep. That
is
a terrible website.
But apparently that's Jason Bond Sr.'s.
All right.
I found his Twitter account. He has a Twitter account. Hasn't tweeted since 2023. But that links to that. So I'm very fascinated now by this of Jason Bond Sr. And I almost want to get him on the station just to talk racing.
That'd be
his
great.
Career of his racing.
Casino Dealer J says 96, the number 6 overall pick, Boyd Devereaux. To Boyd Devereaux's credit, he put together a decent career. Played in Detroit for a bunch of years after the Oilers finally gave up on him. I think he was a regular for the Oilers for like a season or two, but it never panned out. And then Boyd Devereaux went and played for Detroit for what, like 6-7 years? I think he even won a Stanley Cup with them. Boyd Devereaux.
It's the 2003 draft that always will get me.
Why is that?
Because they traded back from 17 where they could have got Zach Parise. And what did they get in the end? Didn't they get, like, Jeff Delorier?
Yeah, JDD's a beauty, though.
Yeah, but didn't pan out or whatever.
Right.
Obviously. I'm just trying to find what the Oilers did that year. Yeah, oh no, Jean-Francois Jacques. JF Jacques was one of their picks. And they could have had, I'm just trying to see who else they took. Marc-Antoine Pouliot. Yeah, so they traded back. If I'm not mistaken, they traded back and got Marc-Antoine Pouliot and JF Jacques as the two. And they passed up on, ahead of time, Zach Parise, Ryan Getzlaf, Brent Burns. And then after the Pouliot spot, there was Ryan Kessler, Mike Richards, Brian Boyle, Corey Perry. Louis Erickson was drafted. Patrice Bergeron was drafted. Shea Weber was drafted. Corey Crawford was drafted. David Backes, Jimmy Howard were all drafted before JF Jacques. But they could have had them, instead of Pouliot.
But Pouliot played with Crosby and Rimouski.
Yes, and he had that high, great year.
Yeah.
And so he got elevated, but like they could have had Zach Parise at 17, but they traded back and they got Pouliot and they got JF Jacques, and it was like one of those draft years that is ridiculous because Marc-Andre Fleury was first overall, Eric Stahl, Nathan Horton, Thomas Vanek, Mladen Michalek, Ryan Sutter, Dion Phaneuf, Jeff Carter, Dustin Brown, Brent Seabrook all went in the top 15 there. Yes. Those and I'm just reading.
One of the greatest drafts ever.
Yes, I'm reading those names because they're highlighted as either an NHL All-Star or they were named to an NHL All-Star team as well. And then I've named just a bunch of other guys for you there. Who else was drafted that year? Third round, nothing. Fourth round, nothing. Fifth round, nothing. Okay, that first round, like it was one of the best first rounds. Joe Pavelski went in the 7th round. Congratulations to him on a great career. He announced that.
He put out a formal letter announcing his retirement today.
Oh,
great player, yeah.
Dustin Byfuglien was drafted in the 8th round that year. Yaroslav Halak in the 9th round. Brian Elliott in the 9th round. So that was a great year, and the Oilers ended up walking with Marc-Antoine Pouliot and JF Jacques with that first-round pick, basically.
JF Jacques was on the first line in 2009-2010 when Pat Quinn coached the Oilers.
Because he wanted size on every line. I was at Nate at that time, and I'm like, this sounds dumb.
It did not work.
It did not.
It did not work. I have an obscure Pat Quinn story, if I may.
Please.
May he rest in peace.
Today is the obscure story day.
Pat Quinn was, first of all, he was amazing. Like his press conferences would be like 25 minutes of, I don't think I can use any of that because it didn't have anything to do with the game type of quotes. You'd be like, so second period, Pat, kind of the wheels fell off there. Yeah, but in 1983, I remember we were in Hartford and this happened and then this guy did this, and we went for a club sandwich, and I didn't have mayo on it, and you're like, what the hell is going on? You'd look and be like, I asked that question 6 minutes ago, and we still haven't talked about that question. Anyway, Pat Quinn, older guy obviously at the time. I think he was in his late 60s by the time he took over as coach in the Oilers. I was told this by the flight crew and staff that for the season Pat coached the Oilers, they had to go through some extra safety training in case there was a medical emergency mid-flight because Pat wasn't in great health. He was older. And
well-dressed.
Very immaculately dressed.
Well-dressed.
Just the crushed
three pieces.
Suits. Yeah, 3-piece suits. Like everything shined to the nines. Like it was, Pat was old school, but in the best way. Classic. And the flight crew had to have an emergency plan in place in case something happened mid-flight for Pat. Thank God nothing did happen. And outside of Patty Garland accidentally telling the bus it can leave and leaving Pat on the tarmac. One time. Sorry, Pat.
Speaking of coaches, I think there's the 32nd coaching spot has been filled. I don't think there's any other one. Columbus. they've named Dean Evison as their next head coach. He was the head coach of the Minnesota Wild from 2019 through to this past season when he got fired 19 games into the season. He was 5-10-4 this year. He's 147, 77, and 27 overall in 251 career games. Made the playoffs 4 years with the Wild this past year, though getting let go. He is now the new head coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets. How many head coaches have they had?
Quite a few.
Yeah, because they don't have a lot of GMs.
No, just 4 GMs now with Don Waddell taking over.
He becomes their, based on Wikipedia, 11th coach, which includes interns and stuff like that.
Brad Larson was part of that. Pascal Vincent.
Dave King was their first coach.
Yeah.
Doug McLean, Gerard Gallant, Gary Agnew was an interim for 5 games. Ken Hitchcock, Claude Noel for 24 games. Scott Arneal, Todd Richards, John Tortorella, Brad Larson, Mike Babcock, who didn't coach the game in the end, but he was their coach. Pascal Vincent, and then now he's going to be in theory, Wikipedia does not count Gary Agnew or Claude Noel in this.
Interesting.
So he's their 11th head coach.
Loomis says, so they will continue to be a dumpster fire.
Columbus?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
well.
There's an organization that really hasn't gotten much traction.
Well, you're almost at a point now we're in a reset, aren't we? Like they're in another reset where it's okay. You're bringing in new, everything's new. So, what is Don Waddell going to do there? How's Don Waddell going to turn this around? And you can't expect to turn around with the snap of the finger. I am also just very intrigued what John Davidson's role is with this team.
I thought he was stepping down.
Well, I think he's still listed.
Loomis getting in said Columbus doesn't have the personnel to play trap. Calvin says, dang, so Woody waiting until a coach gets fired this season. And then Brett B says, bullet dodged by Woody, to be honest. I'm a little surprised that we didn't hear more about Jay Woodcroft.
Well, as senior advisor, alternative governor for John Davidson.
Okay, so kind of a figureheads.
With Jay Woodcroft, it's a good question. Is it maybe he isn't as good of a coach as some people might think?
During the playoffs, especially 3rd and 4th round, obviously, when more national media were coming into town and some of the insiders and stuff, some of the conversations when coaching positions were being filled during those last 2 rounds of the playoffs, there were some things that there was teams that were a little bit, I don't know if leery is the proper term for Woodcroft, but or maybe like the shine had maybe worn off a little bit. And then when they talked to Jay or they did some background work on Jay, they thought, good, but maybe we'll look at something else and then circle back to Jay. I think Jay's still going to be a head coach in this league.
He deserves another shot.
Absolutely, he does.
You can't be the winningest coach in Oilers history, or second winningest, depending on which rankings you want to go with, and go, he doesn't deserve it. You could sit there and say, well, he had Connor and Leon. It doesn't matter. He still had some good things. I wouldn't mind being in this spot, though, because you're probably right now then the leading candidate for replacing someone midseason.
And that'll happen, obviously.
Absolutely. In the National Hockey League, somebody's getting fired before the new year.
It's just the way it goes.
If not 2.
Like, who would be on the hot seat this year?
Hot seat this year. I got to look at the NHLs just so I could look at the teams. I want standings or something.
Mike Sullivan just re-upped in Pittsburgh.
I would put him on there still, though.
Would Tortorella be on the hot seat after the collapse? And he's only been there for a couple of years, and the butting of heads.
Florida's fine. Boston's fine. Tampa's fine. Lightning are fine. Red Wings, I think, are fine. What's up with the Sabres?
They just brought in
Lindy Ruff. He hasn't coached
brought
yet.
back Lindy Ruff.
Or was this his first year there?
No, they just brought him back because they fired Dan Granato.
Right. I'm trying to
Don
remember.
Granato.
Ottawa Senators just hired. Montreal Canadiens, maybe?
St. Louis not going anywhere, I don't think.
Okay. Rangers are good. Hurricanes just re-upped. Islanders, I think, are good. Capitals?
No, they have that Spencer Carberry, who they really like.
Just made the playoffs. Penguins, yeah. I would throw the Penguins out there. I don't care that they re-upped. Sullivan? I think he's been there long enough. You get off to a slow start. That would be the reason. It would have to be like they're going, the Oilers, maybe not as bad as the Oilers, but a bad start. I could see him, even though he got the extension, going. Flyers, I would with you. Devils, no. Blue Jackets, no.
With Pittsburgh, it feels like they're going to ride or die with Crosby and Malkin to the end. And I feel like a good time to move on from Mike Sullivan is when those two are done. You know what I mean?
You're trying to get the most out of this team, and you start off 2-8. Boom, bring in another guy.
Yeah, maybe.
Dallas, no. Jets, no. Avs, no. Predators, no. Blues, no. Wild, no. Utah, maybe? I doubt it.
No, because they like Andre Tournier.
Blackhawks, Canucks, Oilers, Kings, Golden Knights, Flames, Kraken, Anaheim, San Jose. That's the rest of your list. And there's actually not a lot.
All of those teams have hired new coaches in the last
That's
year
the one
and a
thing.
half.
So if I had to guess, I would put the Pens there.
I'd put maybe
I'd put the
Philly.
Golden Knights there because you never know with Kelly McCrimmon.
Yeah, but they should be pretty.
They should be, but it's one of those. If there's a team that's going to be a wild card that you never know what's going to happen, they just need to have it's Kelly McCrimmon and the Golden Knights. They're a team that I could put in there.
And they are cutthroat. It's win at all costs, and that comes from Bill Foley.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that, if you're the president of hockey operations and GM, is to get rid of the coach. They've done it. They've worked. They burnt through Pete DeBoer, for crying out loud. Gerard Gallant was great for them off the hop.
They don't waste time.
No.
Once they're ready to move, they make the move. So, right now I don't look at a lot of coaches on the hot seat going into next season, but the thing with the National Hockey League,
You never know.
they'll find a way. They'll find a way to fire some coach that we're going to be like, really? No way.
Rip City Step says they need to bring back the full-time Canadian men's national team for McClellan and Woodcroft to coach. That's where Joaquin Gage played for a bit before he ended up back in the NHL with the Oilers. Brett B says Vegas forward depth this year might sewer Bruce Cassidy. Yeah, potentially. They still have a really good defense core in Vegas. I really like that blue line. I don't know how Aiden Hill will respond this year now that they got rid of Logan Thompson. They should be pretty good still.
Bruce Cassidy is the 6th most tenured coach in the National Hockey League.
At 3 seasons, 4 seasons?
June 14th, 2022, he was retired. Martin St. Louis, Feb 9, 2022, is 5th. Rob Brendamore's 4th, May 8th, 2018. Jared Bednar, August 25th, 2016. Mike Sullivan, December 12th, 2015. John Cooper, March 25th, 2013.
Wow.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 coaches with less tenure than Chris Knobloch in the National Hockey League.
Jeez.
13 coaches have been hired since Chris Knobloch got hired by the Edmonton Oilers back on November 12th of 2023.
What a day that was, wasn't that was a rough press conference.
20 coaches have been hired since the start of the year 2023.
Win, baby.
It's ridiculous.
Win. That's all it is.
Only 4 coaches have not been hired with a 2-0 or 2-1, 2-2, like since 2020.
Jeez.
Only 4 coaches in the National Hockey League have been employed with their team going into the pandemic. It's wild.
You want to coach in the NHL, huh?
How quickly the NHL has grown to a league where
Yes.
they will make changes.
Yes.
They don't care. They will make changes. Led by your Edmonton Oilers.
There you go. Beautiful. What a show.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Zach to
I
come
enjoyed
learn
that.
some obscure Oilers history. We shared a story about Pat Quinn.
Talked to the Elks.
Talked about the GM. Talked to Elks. It was fun.
Brought
Good
up some
Monday.
strawberry biscuits.
Yes, and that.
I hope Popeyes never gets rid of the strawberry biscuits from their website
my
as long as
goodness.
I have to fill in on the oil stream
All
because
right.
I love saying it.
Clearly. Well done, Matthew.
Biscuits. That'll wrap up today's edition of the Oil Stream. Coming up on the audio stream, as we are a radio station. Crazy. An Edmonton-based all-sports radio station, wouldn't you know it. The Edmonton Riverhawks, we've got that coming up later tonight. It's 7 o'clock on our stream. But up next, there'll be a Nielsen Show replay with Lieutenant Eric, Joaquin Gage, and YTT. Dusty back in the chair tomorrow morning
Sweet.
at 6 o'clock. Zach, excellent work behind the camera. Nice work, blocking the trolls and kicking them out of the nasty chat. Tommy, this was fun. Thanks to everyone for tuning in on YouTube, iHeartRadio, Tune in, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, to your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Thanks for tuning in to the Oil Stream, presented by Boston Pizza. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll chat with you tomorrow.